These are the 30 books that I want to read during the month of March. There's so many books on my TBR, so I'm hoping that I get to them. But I don't know. I feel like every month is always a surprise because I don't know, change my reading mood so much. So I never really expect to get through everything, but I don't know, I always hope for getting through most of them. I have a lot of books that I want to share with you guys that are on my TBR to read, but I also want to share with you guys the books that I read at the end of this video, just because I'm probably not going to do like a separate video for my wrap up for the month. So yeah, let's get into the books that I want to read first, and then I will share the books that I am really excited that I ended up finishing. I did end up finishing a lot of books, and by the time that you guys see this video, it'll be the end of the month, but for me, I have about a week left, and I'm actually going to be going on a bookish trip to the mountains with the book girls, so we're going to be doing lots of reading that week, so I'm sure that I will end up finishing a lot more books during that week as well. But yeah, let's just get into all the books that I'm really excited to get into reading this month. There are some books from last month that I didn't end up reading that I want to read this month, so I added some of those in. But one of the first books that I'm really excited to read is Unlike Before by J.B. Valentine. You guys know I'm really big into reading books by authors that aren't super hyped up yet, that only have a few reviews, and this is one of them. One thing that gets me excited about reading books by smaller authors is whenever I go to like their Instagram or TikTok and they're talking about their book and they're so excited about it, it also gets me excited. So if you're someone who really struggles to read books that like you haven't seen reviews about or like aren't super popular because like you don't have that same virality of like everyone talking about it kind of thing, go to the author's like personal page where they're like sharing their book recs and stuff and the books that they've written, and go and read about the book, see their excitement for the book and all the intention they put behind writing the book. I feel like a lot of authors will share when they go to different like book signings or the things that they've done with the writing process. It's made me have a deep appreciation for these authors and all the work that they do to create a book. Another book that I'm really excited to read is Love You Better by Britt Benson. This is a book that I'm really excited to read because I've already read one other book by this author. I read book 3 in this series and loved it, like absolutely loved it. There's something to me about like older books, like not super old, but like older books have a very nostalgic feel, and I don't know, like I feel like the girls in the older romances were very like desperate, and like it gave like Wattpad vibes because the characters are doing like all these wild things to like get with the guy, or the guy's doing these wild things to get with the girl, and I feel like sometimes we miss that a little bit in the newer stories. So I want to read some older books, not like super old, but like books that maybe have older covers that have been revamped but they were like written a while back. And this is one of them because I read the 3rd book in the series. I really want to read this one. This one kind of looks like it's like a best friends to lovers story because they have like chemistry and they've known each other since 9th grade. And then they have a kiss and she says, "Who is this man in front of me and what has he done with my best friend?" So maybe he always had feelings for her, I'm not really sure. And this one right here, I don't want to like go too much into like reading every, like the back of every book, just because I feel like that's just too much. Like 30 books, reading the back of every single one would be wild. But this says, since divorcing her ex-husband 9 years ago, 35-year-old Patience Harvey has focused on rebuilding her life and raising her 8-year-old daughter. And then Michael Carter, he's running a successful construction company, and it says, however, after 3 years as a single man, the 37-year-old bachelor has reached the point where he's longing for companionship but feels like he's missed his chance. That is until an unexpected detour to a bakery leads him to meet a fellow patron who immediately catches his eye and, unbeknownst to her, captures his heart. And I don't know, I feel like you just don't see a lot of books about characters that are like in their mid to late 30s. Where they have like kids and like maybe have had past marriages. So really excited to read this book, and this is a book by a Black author. I also can't wait to read Ride to Remember. This is a book that I actually recommended in one of my book hauls because I got like a bunch of books that I was like really excited to read by small authors. One of you guys actually said that you read the book and you DM'd me, you're like, oh my god, thank you for recommending it and like buying it. I read it, I loved it. So I'm just like, I have to read it, like I have to read it. And this one, it says they were never supposed to meet, but one night changed everything. India, who's barely keeping it together. One late night, it says one late night rideshare to cover her bills puts her face to face with danger she never saw coming. Now she's caught up in a mess that could cost her everything. And it says that the main guy character, he's a star athlete, or at least he was at one point, and then he gets injured. He doesn't have a backup plan. And when his little sister needs him, he does what he has to do, even when it means crossing lines he swore he'd never touch. Both of these characters, their worlds collide in a moment of chaos neither of them saw coming. With every mile, danger grows and the line between survival and surrender starts to blur because falling in love on the run, that was never supposed to happen. Now they're not just fighting to stay free, they're fighting for each other. This is giving like a survival romance because like both of them are literally on the run. So I don't know, looks good, and it's also a very short read, so I feel like I'll get through it really fast. I also want to read Playing Hard by Whitney D. Grandison. I've heard that this story is like dramatic. It's like set in high school, I'm pretty sure. This is, I think, a young adult book, and this character has like, or the main character in this, it says that Creed Jacobs can't stand the exclusive clique of boys who dominate the school's sports teams because they're arrogant and flashy. And it says, don't tell DeAndre Parker that. He knows his potential and that almost everyone in Moorhead wants to get close to him, everyone except Creed Jacobs. And then they have a heated debate in class, and it ignites something in DeAndre, and he's determined to get Cree under his spell to change her opinion of him. And they strike up a friendship. It's in high school. It's supposed to be like a dramatic read, so I want to read this. I'm really excited. And again, this is a book that doesn't have a lot of reviews, but this book is in most Barnes & Noble, which to me is like even more of a reason for me to support this author, because you have like done the feat of being able to like be put into a big box store, and maybe a lot of people don't know about your books. I think it has like maybe 490 reviews or something on it, and this is a story that I'm pretty sure was big on Wattpad, and then it was like written into like a book. Yeah, on the back it says Wattpad books. So I don't know, I feel like it's gonna be good. I love a dramatic story. I also want to read Before I Love You by A.J. Alexander. This is another book by a Black author. And this author writes a lot of small town romances. It says, a single mom who's given up on finding love, a single dad who wants to change her mind. I have really been obsessed with covers like this. You guys have probably seen so far, like a lot of my covers are very like discreet. And I don't know, I think that I do like the cutesy like covers with cartoony like vibes, but I'm gonna be doing a ton of traveling in March because we're gonna be going on the book club tour, which I cannot wait to meet all of you guys. I just can't believe that 280 tickets are completely gone, and I'm going to 5 different cities, and every single like bookstore is sold out. It is absolutely wild. One bookstore has 90 people, another bookstore has 70 people, another bookstore has 40. Like, we are at capacity at every single spot. But I know that when I'm traveling and like on an airplane or like sitting in an airport, most of the time I like a cover that's like fairly discreet. Like, I don't really want you to know what I'm reading about. I don't really want you to come up and be like, oh, what's that? Like, I want to be in my own little world, and I feel like having books with discreet covers like this allows me to do that. So these are the books that I'll probably be reading more of in March, just because I'll be traveling so much, and that's what I really enjoy when I'm traveling. I also want to read Until the Last Breath by Shanora Williams. I already started Sweet Little Hearts, which is the Dallas Book Club pick, and I am loving it so far. Probably gonna end up finishing that one when I am out of town tomorrow, just because it is like a really short read, but I'm trying to savor it and like underline things so like we can talk about it in the book club. I've never been to a book club like ever, and so I don't even really know like how one is really supposed to go, but I don't want to like base my like experience or not lack of experience in a book club and like make that be how our book club's gonna be. Like, I genuinely just want it to be just like a hangout. We all come, get together, like talk, like I don't want it to like feel stuffy, you know what I mean? Like I just want it to be like really, really fun and we all get to know each other. And so I'm gonna try to like underline things and like maybe make little questions that we can all like chat about. So it's not just like me talking, it's like all of us talking together about the book. But this is another book by Shanora Williams, and I love her writing so much. And after like really getting into Sweet Little Hearts, it's made me realize I want to read more of her books. So I am definitely going to read this book next month. It says, years ago, I fell in love with a man, Maximal Grant, tall, smooth-talking, handsome as hell, Maximal Grant. And it says that this is a story of how Maximal Grant went from being my toxic first love to the man who ultimately saves my life. And trust me, this will not play out the way you think it will. So does this have a happy ending? Like, I don't know, but I'm in for the ride. And I feel like her books are always a wild ride. This is also a book that's less than 300 pages, so I'll probably finish it really quick. Another book that I'm excited to read is Terms of Inheritance by adorable Huckleberry Ordaz. This is the book for the New York City book club tour, and that is a book that's like, we're going to be chatting about on the 3rd week of March, I think. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. And I've read one other book by this author, On Merit Alone. 5-star read for me, genuinely 5-star read for me. It's a slow burn, absolutely beautiful writing. I loved how the characters were like very independent in their own right. When they came together, they were like, I don't know, they were timid, but like he was bending on hands and knees being like, I want you to be with me. Like I love that book so much. And it was a sports romance, and she was in the WNBA, he was in the NBA. So after I read that, I was like, I need more sports romances, or just romances in general that have like a slow burn, that give that tension. And this book definitely is a slow burn. It is a marriage of convenience story. And so many of you guys have said you've already picked up this book, and you've DM'd me saying that you already love it as well. So that's making me really excited to dive into it. So I'm going to read this next month. Honestly, I was thinking about reading all the books for the book club prior to March, but I almost felt like if I read them too early, it wouldn't like, I wouldn't have the same excitement if I just finished reading it. You know what I mean? Like when you finish a book, you are so excited, like you can't hold it in, like you have to talk about it with people. And my fear is that if I like finish them all like last week of February, and then I ended up, you know, hanging out with you guys middle of March or end of March, like would I remember all my excitement? Like would I care as much? So I wanted to kind of wait for some of these, but some of the others, like the book by Lauren Lacey that we're reading in Chicago, I'm going to read that one before March comes. And then I'm also going to read the book that we're reading for Dallas before March comes, because those are like the first few weeks of March. Another book that I want to read is One Night Stand, which this is our pick for Atlanta. So I can't wait to dive into this one with you guys. Never read anything by this author, and that was actually kind of like a battle for me, because I was like, I don't know if I want to pick a book club pick for our first book club ever in person in Atlanta, and I've never read the author. You know what I mean? Like all the other authors are authors I know and love, like Lauren Lacey, Brittany Cherry. Like we're going to be reading the book by adorable Huckleberry Ordaz. Like all these authors, Shanora Williams, they're authors whose books I've rated 5 stars or very, very highly, like 4.5. Like I'm obsessed with their writing. I've read multiple books of theirs. So I kind of already know that their books are probably going to be books I enjoy. I've never read anything of hers before. Never. So I'm really excited for this one. It's a sports romance. It says that their friendship is platonic, ironclad after the one-night stand gone wrong, so why can't she shake the feeling that they've barely scratched the surface? They have a one-night stand, and they're kind of just like, it's gonna be whatever, and then they just can't stop thinking about each other, I'm pretty sure. And they end up, I think, years later reuniting after they have that like one night. I think that's like the storyline. I also want to read The Truth Never Spoken by Amber Cordova. This is an author who is Dominican, and this characters in all these stories, I think this is like a small town romance, all the characters are like diverse characters in some way. I think the main character in this, on her Instagram, it says that She is a Latina woman, I think, if I remember correctly. And I think that most of the female characters are, at least that's what she specifically wrote on her Instagram. And I actually went to her Instagram because I like have had this book on my shelf for a minute, and this is like the discreet cover because there is like a cartoon cover of this, and I've had it on my shelf for a while, haven't picked it up, because again, I'll buy a book, excited to read it, and then I feel like I forget my excitement, and so when I want to get excited again for that book, I'll go to like their TikTok or Instagram, like for the author, and see their excitement, and it gets me excited. So I was kind of reading up on the book, reading up on the characters, like listening to her talk about her love for the series, and it just made me like excited for this even more than when I first bought it. So this is a book about a girl who leaves Baker Oaks, and she left it 10 years ago and swore that she would never return. And it says, so why on earth am I sitting in the front seat of Jake Clark's truck, the guy whose heart I broke all those years ago, the man I considered the love of my life. This is a small town romance that I feel like is gonna give everything I need it to give. I love a small town romance. I was trying to think if I should add like more books onto my TBR, like books that are different, books that aren't just like my romances that I love. And I genuinely am not gravitating towards anything else. And this is the reminder that I had to tell myself, and I want to tell you too, read what you want to read. I told myself at the end of last year, beginning of this year, that I was gonna read books that I wanted to read. I wasn't gonna hold off on books I was excited about. You know, sometimes you'll get a book and you're like, oh, I think this is gonna be a 5-star read, so I'm gonna wait a while to read it. And then like you wait and you wait and you wait. It's like, wait, why haven't I read that book yet? Like, oh wait, it's because it's a book I'm like really anticipating. Sometimes there's books where I'm anticipating and I read them immediately, but other times I like wanna savor them. Not doing that anymore. I'm reading them right away. I'm reading them when I wanna read them. Maybe I'm gonna read a Christmas read in August. Like, I don't know. I could read a Thanksgiving read in the spring. Like, it doesn't matter to me. This is the year I'm going to read what I want to read. And sometimes I feel this pressure almost to pick up books that like feel like they are quote unquote age appropriate. And I'm saying that, and I feel like you guys are going to understand what I mean. Being 33, going on 34, I feel like when I see books like this book, literally going to be my next read that I am going to be talking about, sometimes I feel this like internal judgment, like, oh, if I'm gonna be reading a book like this, like, it's not like, I'm not gonna be critically thinking, like, it's not like a deep book that someone who's in their 30s would be reading. And then I have to remind myself, like, that's literally just society, like, making me feel bad for my cutesy little hobbies and things that I love. And so if you're someone who loves graphic novels, if you love young adult literature, if you love spicy romances, if you love non-spicy romances, if you love cutesy cartoon covers, if you love aliens and, you know, whatever, like whatever you love to read, read that, and read that without any inhibitions, because you should not feel like you have to read a certain type of book based on your age or who you are or where you live or whatever. So I've been reminding myself a lot of that this year. This is one of the books I also want to read. It's called She's a Baddie by Monique Fisher. It's a spicy little read that is only 170 pages or so. And it says that when Izzy and Chris discover that Michaela and Hunter are hosting a couples-only retreat, the perfect plan emerges. These childhood besties will pretend to be lovers while Izzy helps Chris woo the future Lawrences and Chris helps Izzy woo the board. So it seems that like they're helping each other with their jobs because Chris runs a winery, and it looks like maybe the main girl character Izzy has a hair care company, and so there's these two people that are traveling, and they are like, oh, we should go where they're going so we can like woo them and make them like our businesses. And so thought that was like a cute storyline, looks really fun. So I can't wait to read that one. Another book I'm excited to read is The Scammer by Tiffany D. Jackson. I'm pretty sure this is set at a college. And Tiffany D. Jackson, I think, is the only author who writes young adult books that I am like genuinely excited to read. Like sometimes I'll pick up a young adult book by an author and I'm like, I don't think it's gonna be that great, but like I do like the author, so I'll read it because they wrote it. No, I already know that this book is gonna be incredible, and it's set at a college. I'm pretty sure the girls, maybe her roommate's boyfriend or something, is like crazy. Like I don't really know the whole storyline, but I've like heard people talk about it, and I think that that is like the vibe. Or maybe it's her boyfriend is crazy. I don't know. Somebody's crazy, and I think it's set at a college. So I'm gonna eat this one up, and it's also a thriller. Then I want to read Beyond the Break by Tanisha Headley. I don't even really know what this one's about. On the back it does say that he's a pro surfer who lives by one rule: no distractions. She's his team's new social media manager, set on breaking through his grumpy exterior and the very rule he holds dear. I do not see enough surfer romances written by Black authors, so I'm really excited for this one. I think the only other one that I've read is Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan. The main guy character, who's a literal billionaire, is also a surfer, and I feel like his surfing was mentioned just like kind of occasionally like in the story, but it wasn't like a really big crux of the story. And this is literally him being a pro surfer and she is a social media manager. So like the whole story is set around him being a surfer. Now, is the character Black? Can't tell you that. I don't know. Like there's nothing on the cover. Like there's literally just like a beach. So I don't really know if that's the case, but having a story written by a Black author, there probably is a character in this book that is Black, I'd assume. So I don't know, I just love, and it's not that the characters have to be one like type of character, but I think representation is so important. And whenever I'm reading a story where I don't see it very often, like a golf romance, and I actually do have a golf romance upstairs that I want to read by a Black author that looks really good, and it's also by a small indie author as well. And reading like stories where, one, I don't see it very often, but two, the representation is there, it almost empowers me to be like, oh, you can do that. Like, did you read that story of that surfer or that pro golfer? Like, yeah, you could do that too. Like, and I don't know, even though it's just like fiction, there's something in it that like gives me that little bit of like push to be like, yeah, you could do that too. Yes, it was written and it's fictional, but that doesn't mean it's like impossible. So I don't know, I love stories like this, so I feel like this is gonna be right up my alley. I also want to read The Redo List by Denise Williams. This is her newest read, and I feel like her reads are always really fun. This says, what would you do with a second chance at your first time? Following a bad breakup, Willow Lewis tackles a redo list with the help of her brother's best friend in this sweet and sexy new romance. So that, I feel like, is a great synopsis. I love when authors do this. Like when they have that little synopsis on the back right here, my favorite thing ever, because I do not have to like skim through the whole 3 paragraphs. And usually before I read the book, I will read this whole thing. But when I'm telling someone else what the book's about, like telling you guys, or like just want to like glance at it briefly if I take it off the shelf, it's so nice to just be able to like look at this thing and not read through the whole thing. So excited for this because this just came out like a month or 2 ago. Another new release that just came out is Keeper of Lost Children by Sadiqa Johnson. So many people have already rated this book 5 stars. So many. Like, I can't even tell you. This is a book that's set in World War II, and it says that it is about 3 characters maybe, but it says it toggles between the lives of 3 individuals, 3 characters, and the story explores how one woman's vision will change countless lives. And in this story, it is set in an elite boarding school in Maryland where long buried secrets bind together a visionary woman, a heartbroken soldier, and a girl in search of her true identity. Again, so many people have rated this book 5 stars, so I feel like I'm probably going to do the same. And then I also want to read Stay With Me by Nicola Fiorina. This is a romantic suspense, and this is also, I'm pretty sure, set at a reformatory college for kids who have really struggled in life, I think. And she ends up meeting this guy who's like a poet, and it says, but because of her sociopath tendencies, she knows it could only end in one of 2 ways. Either he will be the one to free her from her past, or she will be the one to destroy him. So I'm interested to see, like, how is that gonna go? Because it seems that she maybe is like struggling a little bit, and she's at this school and ends up meeting this other guy who maybe is gonna like make her life feel a little bit better because she's gonna fall in love. I also want to read 7 by Elle Kaysen. I don't really know too much of what this book's about, but I do know that this book is like a coming of age story. I'm pretty sure she's like 18. No, she's 17, just right on the back. And I think the main guy character is 19. He's a bad boy. And on the bottom it says, will the young couple survive the forces arrayed against them? So I don't know if she maybe has a hard life or something, but it says that they're unable to stay away from each other, and they decide to take a chance on love, but not everyone in their life is thrilled. And they also play the game 7 Minutes in Heaven, and it says what they experienced that night in a dark closet changes both of them. So it just seems like a very good coming of age story. Really excited to dive into this one. I read one other book by Elle Kaysen, Demon's Dream. It was incredible, so I need to read more books by her. I feel like her books always hook me, and I don't really know how many books that she's written, but I always, if I really am enjoying a book, I always will like go immediately, either after the book's finished or in the middle of the book, go to see if the other author, or if the author has more books. That's exactly what I did with this book after reading Teach Me to Fly. I went and saw like, does she have more books? I need more. And so I feel like this book, 7 Minutes in Heaven, is going to be a great one. I also want to read My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney. This is a book that I feel like so many people have been loving. It's a thriller that just came out. This is the author who wrote Rock, Paper, Scissors. It says one house, one husband, two women, someone is lying. And this is a book where it says it's a tangled web of deception, obsession, and mystery that will keep you guessing until the last page, because I think the wife goes back to her house. I think, yeah, it says, okay, so the main character, she returns home, she recently moved into, and once she gets there, her key doesn't fit, and a woman eerily similar to her answers the door, and her husband insists that the stranger is his wife. And that hooked me. Like, already, I'm like, what is going on? Like, I need to know. So excited to read this, and this is a thriller. I do want to add in a few more thrillers, just because, not like this month, but adding 2 I think is enough, because I don't think I added in any last month. So I want to sprinkle them in because I do enjoy them. I also want to read Call Me Miss Taylor. I'm realizing that I love a suspenseful romance, and this is an obsessive dark romance. This is written by the woman who wrote the last, oh gosh, what's that book called? Oh my gosh, okay, I'm trying to look on the back to see if it like comes up. I did not know this author had this many books. I need to read more of them, because I read one of her books recently and really loved it, and I cannot find it in here at all. I've talked about it so many times, but I really wanted to read more of her books because I enjoyed her recent book. I think it's called The Last Man on Earth, I think is what it's called. Yeah, Last Man on Earth, and loved it. So it made me want to pick up more of her books. And this says it's about Rhea and Ace. And Rhea is a woman who knows exactly what she wants, but sometimes in the pursuit of what she wants, she does things to hurt people. It says, to me, it's worth it. Ace Taylor is worth it. Every lie, every manipulation, every scheme, what he doesn't know won't hurt him. But anyone who comes between us, that's another story. This is giving Obsessed. Like, remember that movie with Beyonce? This is giving that vibe, and I'm here for it. The words are huge. I feel like I'll finish it quick. It is only 350 pages. Perfect length, especially with large text. I also want to read One Last Job by Anise Starr. This is a cutesy read. I read One Week in Paradise by Anise Starr years ago. I want to say like 3 years ago. Obsessed with it. I bought the rest of the series, have not picked up one of her books since then. Recently, the covers were changed to look a little bit different, and I realized I don't need to buy her books. I already have them on my shelf. So I want to read this one. It's a dual point of view, steamy workplace contemporary romance. They're not supposed to be together. It says what was supposed to be a career-defining project that they're working on together leaves them wanting more, but will they take it, or will one last job destroy everything that they've built? I love a workplace romance because there's already that tension built in because they can't be together or they're not supposed to. And then I also have some books that I talked about last month that I didn't end up getting to, so I'm going to briefly like breeze through them because I want to read them, but I already talked about them in the last like video because they were on my list to read. And these are books I didn't get to but want to this month. Some Kind of Love by Lena James is a small town romance by a Black author that I feel like is going to be so cute. I already own books 2 and 3, and I think the thing that's been keeping me from reading it, because again, this is a book that doesn't have a ton of reviews, the thing keeping me from reading it is I need to be in a mood for a small town cutesy romance. Like, I know that that's what this story is going to be. So I have to be in that mood, otherwise I don't think I'm going to like it. And sometimes when I'm going into a story where I know it's not going to have a ton of drama, and it's just going to be cute and fun, if I'm not in the mood for that, I'm like, oh, it's boring. But it's not boring, I'm just not in the mood for it. And I have to wait till I'm like ready for like that cutesy, warm, cozy story that's just going to make me happy and put a smile on my face. So I have not been in the mood for that, but I want to read this soon. I also want to read Lucid Dreams by Lady Nisha because I loved her book, Losing Control. Her book, Losing Control, was probably one of the funniest books I've ever read. Her writing is just, it feels like real life, like the way people talk in her books. And I read A Christmas Read by her too, which I really loved. And it made me realize I need to pick up more of her books. And so I grabbed this one because I feel like so many people have talked about it, and I own this one along with Finally Famous. Again, this is another author where I read one of their books and I was like, I need to read more of their stuff. And it says, after a horrific accident, the main characters in this are left to fend for themselves. And it seems like they have a hard life. The main character, Hunter, life's never been easy for them from birth. She was dealt a hand deemed unfair with an alcoholic father and a deadbeat baby daddy, and Hunter is suffocating and no one seems to care. And in both of these characters, their lives collide. So it just becomes one of those books where the characters, I feel like, are going through so much and they kind of bond together, and I eat that storyline up every single time. Another book I really can't wait to read is Promise by Janelle Westenberry. One of you guys actually said you read this after I recommended it, and you were like, please pick this book up soon because it is as cute as you think it is. And this is a small town cowboy romance. I feel like there isn't too much to it. Look at the cover. I mean, that's all you really need to know. It looks so cute, and I'm pretty sure it's spicy. It's a second chance romance. And I feel like I'm gonna finish this super fast because it's only 149 pages. There's also a recipe on the back. It says Jade's lemon and carrot loaf. Want to try the carrot loaf that hooked Akil and had him ready to change my last name after the first bite? And it literally has the whole recipe in here. That's cute. That is so cute. So I want to read this very, very soon. I also want to read 20 Years of Separation. This is a story that was on my TBR for last month, like all of these, and I did not get to. This is about a guy who goes to prison for 20 years, and I'm pretty sure he's with his like girlfriend or wife or something, and she's like waiting for him to come out, but then she kind of starts to have feelings for someone else, and so she's trying to basically like figure out is love's magnetic force strong enough to pull her away from her marriage and into someone else's arms, or is the bond she built with him over the years too strong to be broken? So this, I have to figure out, like, are you gonna end up with someone else? Like, are you gonna end up with the same person? Like, I don't know. I need the mess. And I also want to read Before Dawn by Jada West. This is a book, it's book 2, but the first book was After Hours, ate it up. It was a very thick one, just like this book, had very few reviews, ate it up. It was one of those stories where I just felt so warm afterward because the guy gave her so much care and intention, and sometimes I feel like I'll read a romance where like the guy, it's like a bully romance, like he's like, I hate you, but I love you. It's like, no, you need to be obsessed with me. Like, you need to be obsessed with me. And that's how he was in the first book in this series. So this one right here is about Abigail and Mikkel, and it just continues like 2 other characters' stories from the book. I'm pretty sure the main guy character in After Hours, he's like friends with a bunch of other billionaires. So I think the guy main character in this is also a billionaire, and it like continues on. She hasn't written any other books in this series. This is the second one, and it just came out not that long ago. It's set in New York City, and it looks really good. So I want to read this soon, and you guys know I love supporting smaller authors as well. Also want to read Revive Me. This is part 3, The Apology, because I've read Restore Me, Revive Me part 1, Revive Me part 2, and then this is now part 3. This is a thick one, and I still have Release Me, and then I think Revive Me part 4, I think. I get kind of confused because honestly the covers all look the same, so I am excited for her to change the covers, but I wasn't the biggest fan of the first book in the New Haven series, which was Restore Me. Genuinely, like, it just wasn't my cup of tea. The second book, Mallory's story, ate it up. I'm actually glad that I ate that one up because all of the books after that have been about Mallory. So it's just making me love the series even more, and I want to get back into it because it's so good. Like, it's one of those stories where like just stuff keeps happening. It's set in college, or at least the first book in Mallory's storyline is set in college. Now this one I don't really know where it's set because I no, I can't really say too much because this is like part 3. So like I've already had 2 parts of Mallory and Chris. And so I'm excited to get into it. Sometimes I wish I could do like spoiler like videos because I just like want to talk about like the ins and outs of things. But I feel like that's so niche because you would have to be someone who's not only read like part of the New Haven series, but specifically read this book. So I feel like that would be like almost too niche. But maybe one day I'll like do like a live bookish chat and like we can talk about like certain books and just like yap about all the spoilers in it. I also want to read Hook and Angel. This is a book about a girl who's like a billionaire, which I feel like you don't read that as often. It's always like a guy who's a billionaire and a girl who's like working at a cashier checkout and she's like, oh, I wish someone would save me. And then he comes along and like has a jet and like whatever. I'm pretty sure she's a billionaire and he works at I think he like, I want to say he does construction maybe, or he like works the like trash or something. I can't remember, but it says that will opposites attract. She's used to the high-end things in life and he's an ex-con from the hard streets of St. Louis trying to get by. I think maybe he's it says he's a tow truck driver. Okay, that's what it is. He's a tow truck driver. So I don't know, I feel like it's just a different storyline and its opposites attract. It says secrets, deception, childhood trauma, past relationships, and plenty of sexual interludes keep this relationship on an emotional roller coaster. The cover is also super cute, which is why I'm adding it back to my TBR for this month. There's so many books I did not get to that I'm really excited to read. I also want to read Carry You With Me by Alex Husby. One of you guys actually like messaged me on Instagram and said, please read this book. And I take you guys' recommendations to heart. Like if you say read this something or you're obsessed with it, I'm like, bet. Like I definitely am going to read it because you guys know what I like. And this says that this is a contemporary romance about grief, healing, and the possibility of love finding you when you least expect it. And this is a story about choosing love after loss, redefining what home feels like, and learning that even the deepest wounds can lead to something beautiful. And whenever I read the back of a book and it has just like beautiful written like words like that, I'm always like, okay, I'm probably gonna enjoy this story. I also want to read The Belle of Linley Cottage. It looks like a cutesy small town romance. And the cover, absolutely freaking adorable. And it's very thick, and it's also by a smaller author. I just randomly found this. I can't even remember how. I feel like somebody shared something on some platform somewhere, and I was like, boop, add to cart, buy, I'm bringing that home. I also want to read Off the Chart by Z. Renee. I've read All In by Z. Renee, and it was an enjoyable read, but it wasn't like my cup of tea because it was just wild. Like it was a lot going on in that book, and I got a little confused at times. It was just like a lot, but I recognize that the author is a very good writer. This is her first book that's like a cutesy romance. Literally on the front, I'm not kidding, it says, I have to read like the front part because her stories are usually like just, they have a lot going on. It says this story contains explicit language, grief, mentions of, oh, that's not what I was planning on reading. Where is that section? I swear there's a section of this book. Oh, it says, I'm gonna get straight to the point. I wrote my first slow burn romance. Read the last 3 words in the previous sentence. Slow burn romance. In all caps, underlined. Ain't no killing going on. Ain't nobody selling cocaine. Ain't no extra drama or plot twist. If you are looking for any of the mentioned, close it now because baby, you gonna be disappointed. I know what you're thinking. I know, my friend. I surprised myself too. But Jersey and Vase spoke to me differently. These two wanted to be loved, and I wrote them just as they told me their story. Different, but I'm grateful for how they've stretched me. I pray you love it, friend. And even if you don't, God bless you still. All right, bye. I love when authors are just like real. Like this is an author who typically writes one type of story and like she could stick to that because she knows like her audience loves that, but she's like, no, these characters wanted something different. I can't just like write the same thing. I need to write where the story is like leading me. So this is called Off the Charts by Z. Renee. And it says, one mistake was innocent until it wasn't. After almost a 10-year relationship, Jersey Lane is forced into a journey of self-discovery. Her codependency made her put her own life on the back burner, but with one spark to her soul, everything shifted. Vase Denver is a school counselor at Sweet Pea Academy. His life is built on saving others until it's time to confront his own wounds. Love became a distant memory, and peace became his priority. How sweet can a guarded heart's lesson be? Is love possible if we keep it off the charts? looks incredible. I also want to read Body Count because I've had this on my TBR last month, did not get to it. And I think I actually had it on my TBR the month before, didn't get to it. So I want to read it this month. I feel like I've talked about this so much, so I'm not going to talk about it again. I also have this stack of books, so we're going to do like a rapid fire. These are the books that I've read this month so far. I've read a total of, I think it's 12, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 books. And I'm also bringing books with me for the last week of February. So I'll probably end out around, because I usually read like, I don't know, like, usually like 3 to 5 books a week. That's like where like my sweet spot is. But sometimes I'll read more if I'm like going on a vacation where I'm just reading, which is literally what I'm doing. So it just depends. I really love Talking to the Moon. Guys, this book is so heartfelt, and it is so like, the writing reminds me of Brittany Cherry mixed with Lauren Lacey, because like I wish I could read, like I need to find a quote to read to you guys. It's just so I just kept, like, there were so many moments where I was just like, oh, like this says, Johnny kissed me with a slow aching hunger that made my knees weak. The world narrowed to his breath, his lips, the way his hands cupped my face like it was something worth protecting. Like the way that this author writes is so beautiful. There's a point where he's like protecting her in this story. It says, Johnny stepped in, eyes dark with fury, jaw clenched so tight the veins in his neck bulged. His chest heaved like he was holding back something feral, barely tethered to control. His hands were fists at his sides, but it was his stare, cold, fixed, hollow with rage, that made the room feel 10 degrees colder. That kind of look that said he'd been pushed past words, past reason. And then he goes, you're never coming near her again. His voice came out low and sharp like a blade being drawn. Like, this book is so beautiful. Like, the way it's written, and it only has 2 reviews. Like, what the heck? I feel like it's giving the vibe, not the writing style, the vibe of the Boys of Tommen series, because the main character is very much like, I need someone to protect me, and he's like, I got you. I will say that there is a trope in this story that everyone will not like. And part of the story, I was like, I don't know how I feel about it because of that specific trope. But once you get past that, it's smooth sailing, and it's kind of just like, I remind myself it's a book. Like, there's things that would happen in real life and that happen in books that, like, in real life I'd be like, don't like that. In books I'm like, oh my god, amazing. Like, you just killed that guy for her. Like, you're protecting her. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of gives that vibe where, like, there's just a trope where I feel like some people won't like it because of that, or like certain parts of the story because of that. But this is incredible. How does it have 2 reviews? I will never know. And then I also read The V-Day Getaway by Lauren Lacey. This was a cute read and so fun. And I feel like I don't see a lot of books that are Valentine's Day, like, inspired, like, at all. And so this was really perfect for what I was looking for. There's a point where the guy, he like has a private jet for them to go on. Like, he's literally spoiling her this whole book. And I definitely think, even though it is Valentine's Day like related, you can read it after Valentine's Day, because it's literally just this guy spoiling this girl the whole book. This book is connected to some of the other books that Lauren Lacey has written, but you can read it as a standalone. They're all actually connected, so it's kind of fun, because even though it's a novella, it's adding to the other stories that I've read or want to read. I also read Heartbeats. Love this book. If you like books, like if you're not a romance girly and you read mostly contemporary fiction, I think you will love this one, because this book talks so much about grief and navigating through grief after loss, and like learning to stand on your own 2 feet after someone breaks up with you and not finding your value in the person that you're with. So good. Another book that only has a few reviews. This has like 27 reviews, and I absolutely love this one. How are more people not talking about this book? Like, again, if you're someone who doesn't read romance, I feel like you will really be obsessed with this book, because the romance is a big part of the story, but I think grief is just as big of a part of the story and navigating through it. I also really loved Eleanor in Grey. This was cutesy. I will say that this is probably not on like the top of my list for Brittany Cherry's books, just because it felt similar to other books that I've read by her. But if you haven't read a lot of Brittany Cherry's books, you will probably really love this one. I think I've just read too many at this point. I've read like 15. So like, she's one of my favorite authors to read, because her stories always have something that keeps me coming back for more, and the guys are always like obsessed with the girls. They're always a small town romance. Like, lots of crying, like crying in the rain, making out in the rain, like very like soap opera-esque. And then I read Woman Down, which this was actually very surprising to me that I was obsessed with, just because I haven't read a book by Colleen Hoover in so long. Really loved it. I will say it took me until chapter 6 to actually become hooked on this story. So I kept putting it down. I was like, oh, like, I don't know how I feel about it. And then once I got to about chapter 6, it really picked up. And I've talked about all these books on vlogs, so you guys can go back and watch the vlogs. I have a new vlog every Saturday, but I also want to do like wrap-ups like this, and I feel like this is a great place to do it because it's like after I'm sharing the books I want to read. So if you don't want to like watch the rest of the video and see like, you know, everything that I've already read, you can easily just like skip past. Then I read Need You By Me by India Carter. This author is so good. Her books are messy, they're fun, they're short. This is the author who wrote Tempted by Danger, and I feel like sometimes people will find a series that's really popular, get hooked on it, and they'll like never pick up a book by that author again until they come out with something new. Go read their backlist. Go to your favorite author's backlist, because I promise you, even if the book isn't popular, it's going to be one that you'll really love. And this was exactly that. I picked up this book when I went to Our Town Books, which was really fun because I love supporting indie bookstores, but I always in my head think, they're not gonna have that book. Like, they're not gonna have that book. Like, I'm gonna have to buy it somewhere else. Like, they're just not gonna have it. And when I saw this book in that store, I was like, oh my God, this is the author that everyone talks about. Like, I bought this book before I even heard of the Danger series. And then I read the Danger series and I was like, or the first book in the Danger series, was like obsessed with it. And then I was like, oh, I already have this book on my shelf. I'm gonna read this one next. So I feel like this is a reminder to me to also continue to show up and support indie bookstores because they always have really great books. I also read What It's Like in Words. If you want a coming of age story where the character is making the worst decisions, like the worst decisions, and just constantly gets back with her terrible ex, like, or maybe you're someone who constantly gets back with your terrible ex and you need someone to really just like throw it in your face, like, girl, what are you doing? Read this book. Like, please read this book. Please read this book. This book reminded me so much of like toxic relationships that I couldn't let go of when I was younger. And then I read Written on Ice by Smalley Dean S. I could scream thinking about this book because of how much tension was in this. I've been really becoming a sucker for tension, and I think authors are getting better at including it in their stories. And there is spice in this, but the tension is in this even more because the guy is broody, not mean, let's be clear, not mean. He's broody. He's like, doesn't talk to anyone, doesn't really like hang out with anyone. He is a hockey player and she's an ice skater, so they see each other often, but he's just like, I need to like have a one-track mind, like my dad's the coach. And this is a story that gives dark academia vibes because it's set in college, and there's like something lurking like in the shadows, like where the main characters are kind of trying to figure out something while the romance is happening. So it was really good. Like, it's perfect for this season because it like literally it's giving like wintry vibes. And then I also read The Oath. One of the spiciest books I've ever read. Is a poly romance. You guys know I'm always wanting to read stories of different types of relationships, different types of people who live different lives than I do, because I feel like, one, it like opens my eyes to how big the world is and how everyone's life is different. Gives me more empathy for any circumstance that anyone is living in, going through, or just enjoying. And this book was just like so fun. I actually bought book 2 in this series because I loved the covers so much, so I figured that I would like want to have, you know, these special edition books. I got these from Steamy Lit. So good. So good and so spicy. So keep that in mind if you pick that one up. I also read Snowed Under. This one was okay. It wasn't my favorite. I really love the first book, which is called Baggage Claim. So I expected to really enjoy this one. I'm trying to see if I can find it on the shelf, but I think it's like way up there. I expected to really enjoy this one, but this one was like okay. Like, I genuinely read this at the beginning of the month and I don't even really remember it. And those are the types of books where it's like, I don't know if I really like them that much because I genuinely could not even tell you really much of what this book was about. And I think it's just because it was cute, but it was very like forgettable in a way. Not in a bad way, but it's just like, you know, when you turn on like a show and it kind of reminds you of like 100 other different shows that you've watched before. It kind of felt like that. Like, not bad, but like because I'd read book 1, it just was like a little too similar in a way. I also really loved Island of Us. This book, I want to say, has like 20 reviews. Please read this book. Please look at this. Look at this. The way I read this, like, bin it up, read it so fast. It only has 233 pages. Now, this is the second book to 8 Dates of Christmas, so you don't have to read this first by any means, but it does have characters from that book. So if you want to like have a continuation, you could easily read the first one and then read this one. Love this one. It was so fun. So much good banter. Like, it needs to be more hyped up, and this is the last book this author has written. She hasn't written anything else, so I will be begging on hands and knees for the next book that she's gonna write. This is a story where the characters have had something in the past, and one of the main characters just like doesn't know if she wants to commit again. She doesn't know if she wants to open her heart again because she's been hurt. She's running from something, and the guy just keeps chipping away, being like, hey, let me take care of you, let me love you, like, let me be your person. Like, he literally plays rock paper scissors with her to like take her on a date. He's like you know, whoever, like, loser, you know, gets what they want. Like, you don't want to go on a date with me. If I win, we'll hang out all day. If I lose, you know, we won't. And you know, it just little cute things like that. He's like always trying to win her heart, and that's what this whole book is about. And it was just so cute. And then I also read Where Secrets Find Solace by Kimberly Brown. This is a book that reminded me a lot of Fast by Millie Belazar, because it's about a girl who's getting out of prison because she did something, but she did something to protect herself and protect her family. There's a lot of hardship that goes in this story. It's one of those stories that will make you cry. It is very difficult content to read, and it is on page, so it's very hard to digest, but it also was one of those stories that was so inspiring, and the main character had so much resilience that it makes you like literally want to just be like, yes girl, like, I'm rooting for you the whole way. And the main guy character in this, he's actually a lawyer who's helping her in a way, kind of, because like he knows her from the past, so he can't really be a part of her case, but he's helping her to like have a better life. It's so good. There's also forced proximity in this. I really loved it. I definitely would recommend all the books that I've read, and that's one thing about this year is I really want to read books that I think I'm going to love. And I mean, looking at this month, I think I had one book, literally one book that was like not highly rated, maybe two. I think, yeah, there were 2 books that were 3.5 out of 5 stars, and the rest of them I'm pretty sure were all like 4 stars and above. And that's what I want for this year. I want all books that I'm like really enjoying, and I think that's going to happen when I lean into the types of storylines that I love, and I lean into new authors or authors that I already know that I love, or storylines that sound fun to me, and not just reading what seems popular at the time. I think so many of us got back into reading a few years in the past, and we kind of follow the loop of like reading what's popular, only reading what's in bookstores, and then it's like you're constantly, you know, feeling like you need to pick up this or that because everyone's telling you, well, this is better and that's better, and like do this and do that. I just feel like we now need to get back to being the girl or the boy or whoever we were when we were kids, where we would go to the library and just pull a book off the shelf and read it. We would look at the cover, we would read the back and say, does that look good to me? Yes, it does. I'm going to read it, and I'm probably gonna love it. And I feel like that's what I wanna do so much of this year. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. The next video that's coming will be me in a cabin with the book girlies. We're gonna be reading a lot, we're gonna be laughing a lot, we're gonna be going to the bookstore, we're gonna be doing all of the fun things. And this is a group of girls that I see multiple times a year. We all get together at least once a year, and we've been doing this for I think like maybe four years, something like that. So it's like a really special trip, because as we get older, it's harder to make time for your friends, but I think it's so important, and I love that they are just as intentional in just like making space for us to all gather. So really excited for that video. It will be coming up next Saturday, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.